Here we go. I'm on YouTube. I'm trying to get at the. Oh, it says live. There we go. Thumbnail's wrong, but yeah. Yep. I'm 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 off to the side. In the shot, but all right. Don't mind us, folks. Some technical issues. It says 4 people watching. I'm one of them. Oh, they say they hear me, but they don't seem to hear you. They don't hear Aiden. Somebody forgot to post it over there. Yeah. Ain't that there are a lot of things happening right now. Can everybody hear Aiden? Anybody? Give us some thumbs up. Oh, it says mute. Nope, nobody hears. Anybody hear me? That's the irony is that they can hear me. Oh, Aiden.
Setting up
Yeah,
a whole new.
so he's getting this set up, guys. We had some technical issues with StreamYard trying to get this thing up and running. So we're using some backup systems now, so to speak.
Hey.
Hey. Can anybody hear Aiden? He's hey ho ho.
Doubling.
Oh, great.
This is the problem. So you know what I'm gonna do? Wait a second.
They said they heard that.
Yeah, they can hear me now. Because I'm on my MacBook. I'm on my MacBook microphone. Audio gear, YouTube, and I'm on my fucking MacBook microphone. That's awesome. Nice. But weird, like, yeah. Anyways, holy shit. This is, you know, the worst part is I've got to put OBS up here. I'm trying to find, like, all chat. So I'm going to actually put chat up here. How's everyone doing?
G'day.
Oh my God.
Finally.
Live. Okay.
Like 40 minutes late than we normally are. That's hilarious.
How do I get into the, oh, there it is. Stream customization.
Top chat, live chat.
Yeah, see, I should be able to get into the back end of the stream, but I can't.
What USB-C hub are you using? I am not using a USB-C hub. I have a desktop because I am 100 years old.
My USB hub is the pluggable Thunderbolt, but I'm no longer using that right now. I'm on a completely different system. We don't have, this is a funny thing, we don't even have a thumbnail for this.
No, yeah, I saw that when I went.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that before everybody's like, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah.
So just give us a second here while we kind of figure out what's going on, because this has just been a shit show. What ended up happening was the StreamYards wasn't actually streaming to YouTube. It was just like, oh, we have a problem with YouTube. And I'm not sure what part of the whole setup was causing the problem. So yeah, not exactly sure, but we're trying to figure that out. I'm going to have to do some tests on a few things. I have to be a little cagey about it though. I apologize. All right. So I've still got to find a way that I can actually monitor, because I can't actually get into the back end of the stream right now, which is wild. I've never actually experienced this. So I have no idea what chat is. So I guess I'm going to join the stream and mute it. I guess
that's what I always do.
Yeah.
That's literally all I ever do.
Like a sucker, I'm going to have to join my own. No, don't join it there, you weirdo. Video link. Sucker, I'm going to have to join my own. No. All right, mute. All right, there we go. Same confused how he sounds better on a MacBook mic than my whole ass setup. Joey, that's actually just the pretty much the setup of the room. I'm very well
He's well treated.
I'm very well treated. I do have one bad spot in my whole studio that is slowly being taken care of. I will have to also say, this is the first sign of StreamYard's collapse. I dropped a lot of money into them. It better not be, damn it. Liberty Dude, thanks, brother. Steve, looks good. Yeah, I've got one spot. Everything's being changed around. This whole studio. I was talking to Dylan about this when he was over hanging out with us, or hanging out with me. I'm probably going to be moving my studio to a different wall. It's going to look the same, everything, but I'm going to have more room around me to do things. I feel like the setup I have right now is a little frustrating, but I'm also getting a sit-stand desk, that kind of stuff. Aiden's voice even sounds good on a shitty MacBook mic. Damn, I sound crap on everything. No, man. Yeah. Just, I got my radio voice on, that's all. Looks good here, just no name labels. Yeah, you know what? StreamYards can eat my ass. It's a suggested topic for a podcast, how to set up a live stream. Ouch, Liberty Dude. Ouch. That actually hurts, buddy. Action podcast. StreamYard up prices by almost double and the service level drops off. It's a joke. And SR375, love my sit-stand desk. Yes! We are talking this week about possibly starting up a podcast. And this is one of those things that I struggle with, is because with all this gear and all this kind of like the ability I have, and doing a podcast is dog shit simple. Yeah. It really is, like in the grand scheme of everything I do for this channel and all that stuff. YouTube or a podcast is really, really simple and really easy to pull off. So, and I'm like, Dylan, why don't we have a podcast? But then we're like, well, audio, are we just going to do this for the podcast? Because I don't think this would go over great for an audio podcast. It's literally us just sitting here shooting the shit on a Friday. It's great for people who know the channel and might want to be, they might want to be involved at this level, by watching and stuff like that. But we would never get any views or any listens.
No, you never get any like sizable traction doing
average. This. Yeah. What's up, peeps? I'm a huge fan of the channel. That's the Tech Preacher. Not too much, buddy. Welcome to the podcast, or to the podcast.
Yeah.
To the live stream. It has a very podcast feel today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dylan, can you hear this? No, okay.
They're
saying that I'm sounding really good. I'm wondering if I'm actually, like, I hear myself through I've got the NTG3 set up here, and that's how I'm monitoring myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm hearing you through Messenger, which is crap on a good day. But I don't imagine. So I'm sounding to them like you're sounding to me, despite going through $4,000 of signal processing.
A story for a podcast, Darknet Diaries, is a great podcast. The format of a story and intrigue. See, I love storytelling, and this is one that, yeah, I'm struggling with what to talk about. In regards to whether or not it's like a sit down, because it would be Dylan and I, right? And Dylan and I don't have as many crossover interests as you might think, music. But Dylan, and we were talking about this earlier, like, you love scotch, you love your beer.
Yeah.
I haven't drank much over the past few years, so I would do a great beer podcast. I know my beer tastes. I used to drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
But then, like, you're not into sports. I'm into sports.
Not really, yeah.
You don't play video games very much?
I do.
Do you?
I mean, not. Well, actually, no. I probably do play more than you do.
Praise Jesus! We could do a video game podcast and mix it with some audio.
Yeah, man. I could do that.
That's not a bad idea. And then everybody on our channel's like,
actually, I've been going back and playing your Far Cry 5 disc that you left in there.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good game. I never finished it. I'm doing right now Starfield.
Nice. Yeah, okay. So I just, anything Bethesda at this point, I'm just kind of like, I don't even have to read about. I just want to see what it's about. What, like, sum up Starfield in like, I don't know, a few points.
It's basically Fallout in space, but it's, like, it's in the future. There's obviously, travel amongst the stars, and you go to it's not as open of a world as you might think. Like each world is technically open world where you can land on a planet and walk around, but I mean each planet is more sparse than a general Fallout world would be. However, the system of doing quests and all that stuff is very Fallout-esque. You collect spaceships, you upgrade spaceships, so there's an element to playing like that, which I'm not as big. Like I'm not a base builder in games. So like it's good. I really enjoy it. It's slower than Fallout. I'm a big Fallout guy.
Oh yeah, I hundreds of thousands of hours probably in Fallout 4. Tons.
Oh really? Yeah.
And 3 as well. I didn't do any of the intermediate, like the 76 in New Vegas. I haven't
I played a bit with 76. It's okay. It's okay. The Action Podcast, my little channel managed over 1,000 views on a Flash Gordon 1980 episode in the last week. That literally never happens. YouTube is a mystery to me still.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about with the Flash Gordon 1980 episode. I'm guessing you did like a review of it. When you get stuff like that happens, Action Podcast, one of the best things to do is double down on it. If you see that your content goes in a way that people are interested in, you now just got 1,000 new people to jump in on your content at this. So dabble around with stuff around the Flash Gordon universe, or even like maybe go over a little bit of extra Flash Gordon stuff or whatever you have to do. The best thing to do is to try to, and you don't like devote your whole channel. Don't turn into like Flash Gordon, you know. You want to just kind of dabble around the edge, continue doing what you're doing, but put a little bit more of that stuff in. And you will find that when you start hitting on people, then you're going to find all the rest of your content kind of fills out at the same time. Tech Preacher, I've been doing podcasts on my channel for years. I have a video and audio on a few channels. Yeah, as sports equals advanced fetch. I wish I could highlight your comments here, guys. This sucks.
Yeah, I'm so used to certain things.
I would love to do a hockey podcast, like the new team that's coming in Utah. I love watching. So I watch Steve Dangle podcast, or I watch Steve Dangle on YouTube, and he's got the SDP Steve Dangle podcast. He actually has a network. And I love how he basically like breaks down each game. So every time the game's over, he basically gets online and he either yells and screams about how shitty the Leafs did, or he like, oh, it's a great game. Leafs win. Yeah. I wanted to do that for a team like Utah. That would be fun. That would be fun to do a fan reaction style podcast for that. But yeah, like it's then you got to get multiple people that are going to watch the same team and do the same thing. So it can get tough that way, but that's not off the table for me, because all it takes is me staying up to watch the games, and I'm willing to do that. I am very willing to do that. Poseidon, I do a podcast on professional wrestling that gets a whole 7 listeners a week. That's awesome.
That's cool.
I have a buddy who's big into wrestling. I feel like wrestling is one of those things that's got super saturated over the past couple of years. That's probably the big problem around that. Did you guys play Grand Theft Auto? King Paco? Yes. I have finished every Grand Theft Auto 3 to 5, basically. And I do plan on finishing 6. Yeah, when 6 comes out, I'm going to be crushing that. This is already something in itself. We need ideas for what our podcast should be about. Doing a podcast on making a podcast.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you teach a course, just take it and make it a podcast.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I thought about doing that because, like, from an audio perspective, Dylan could really crush that part of it, right? Like, Dylan could be production. I also produce a podcast. So, like, we could probably
very large podcast.
The How to Podcast. That would be kind of fun. You and Dylan discussing the finer things, beers, whiskey, and cigars, what music to accompany it with. I'd be down. That just skipped. I'd be down like a cheap. Okay, wow. Well,
like, what was one of the ideas? Like, we had talked about possibly like a reactionary thing where we take like songs or productions. It might be a podcast. Obviously, if it's a podcast, we're not going to sit through the entire podcast and make a reaction to it. But if it's a song, we sit maybe break it down, things we notice, trends, like even I don't know, do an episode on like what makes the sound of an era, right? What is it quantifiably that made an album in the '90s sound like the '90s or whatever. Do that kind of stuff. But I don't know that that's a this channel kind of thing. But I think
Yeah.
we could both knock something like that out of the park. And there's tons of content there.
Yeah, the only problem is you run into issues with content IDs. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You'll get
yeah.
nabbed.
But
You'll get nabbed.
that will crush your podcast.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing that makes me shy away from that. Fighting Arts of England has a good point here. I've had my podcast for a few years now, and I found that for it to be a success, you need to make it about what you know. If you're a microphone expert, then obviously you should make it about mics. See, I know a lot. There's a lot people don't know about me. For example, I'm a semi-pro 8-ball player. I've gone to Vegas. I've gone to the world ranking tournaments down there. I want to start a YouTube channel about pool. I know I am very good. And it would be cool. And one of the things like on Facebook and on YouTube, I'm starting to get all the shorts about pool, like how to do certain shots. And I'm like, shit, I could do a whole channel on this. I could do
Yeah.
a channel like, wouldn't it be great if you watched an 8-ball game and how you break down an 8-ball game? Because playing 8-ball is very much a game of chess.
Yeah.
To play it properly, you're looking at least 4 shots ahead, and you can actually look the whole table ahead, but things need to have the ability to change because things can happen. Your spin
Yeah.
isn't enough, stuff like that. Fuck, I would rock an 8-ball YouTube channel, but I don't have a table at home. I would love that. So there's a lot of things that I know. I know beer. I know beer very well. So yeah, I think it's not just necessarily going to be the one thing. Like Dylan isn't just audio. I know Dylan has a lot of like really big passions. That is the difference though between knowing and passion. I
Mhm.
know a lot of stuff. I collect vinyl. I would probably rather cut myself than to do a vinyl
Oh
podcast.
God. Well,
That
it's funny these days seeing a resurgence of it. Like
yeah.
I've thought about doing a few videos on vinyl because there's just some people that spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on vinyls and special limited edition this, and they're playing it on like a Walmart turntable, and going, no, 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 no. Clean your freaking records. Get
Yeah.
a turn. Balance your tone arm properly, right? Like there's. Get a preamp that will do your turntable justice if it's a turntable worth doing justice.
So like if we stayed audio and
Also, yeah, we could go in a lot of directions.
SR375 says tracking studios over time with the changes in tech. Like there's a lot of ways you can do an audio podcast. It's just making sure you're doing it where one, it's approachable by everybody in audio. Like I do know there's a lot of people that watch this channel that fucking glaze over when you talk music.
Yeah,
Instantly,
yeah.
just no interest. And like I would say probably closer to 80% of people on this channel glaze over.
Yep.
But then if you talk podcasting, all of the music people are like, fuck. So
Yeah.
like it's really hard, right? Like I would say my expertise in audio, it leans a lot closer to voiceover / podcasting. Dylan is all like basically everything. Dylan's worked the gambit and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. Action podcast, some of the best bits of music I've ever recorded have complete mistakes. Yes, that is true. Okay, I've reached the end. 8Ball's podcast sounds interesting. Yes. Well, it would have to be video, obviously. Video would have to go along with that.
Yeah.
I love analog recordings, but there are a ton of vinyl shit, folks. So true. I know a lot about boxing. I used to box. I love it. Never thought of doing a podcast on it. Yeah, you know what? And so as an update, I've been planning on doing the how to release a monetizable podcast. And I do have a course that's mostly written up actually and partially produced. But I'm struggling with getting the time to do it. But two, it's also, I haven't set up the back end. I haven't set up where I can actually sell it. And then YouTube announced that they're expanding their YouTube courses. And I'm like, holy shit, that's something I really want to do. So maybe I just wait to put it through YouTube courses and then I put it at a lower price. So I think that might be happening. But one of the things that I talk about in there is the biggest mistake people make in doing a podcast is they don't have the passion for the subject. They think it's going to be a subject people want to watch or listen to.
Yeah.
And that's why they get into it. And then people get about 6 or 7 episodes in and they're like, oh, fuck. Yeah. So like, that's one of the things that you really got to watch for when you're doing a podcast. And like there's a lot of things in my life that I love doing that I would hate to sit and talk for an hour a week on. I don't want to do that. My enjoyment of it is not that deep, but I love it. So passion is the big one. SR375, did you not teach audio at one point? I taught podcasting. I taught people how to produce a podcast, but I've never quote unquote taught audio at a school level. The only thing I do today with audio is Zoom calls with very expensive gear for no reason. Amen. I think that's Dylan, you obviously do your day job, but you're still producing music, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dylan gets a pass. The only thing I do with expensive gear is a YouTube channel, which is sad because fuck, there's so much more I could be doing. Anyways, nobody's giving us an idea of what we should do it about, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, you guys need to start.
We've had a few ideas,
yeah.
And they're good. They're good ideas. They're things we could talk about. But if there's something that we could flesh out more than 20 episodes, I don't know.
Joey Smoey says 80% glaze over. Thought it would be lower. Learn something new every day. Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Dylan and I have done a couple songs where we challenge ourselves to record something with something. And I have on a few occasions gotten comments of people, why are you doing this? I'm here for podcast stuff. And it's like, well, it's an audio-based channel. So, So yeah, like you'd be surprised at how many people are very niche about what they want to watch on a YouTube channel. And that's fine. Like I can't morph this channel into what it isn't. But then it also kind of handicaps what this channel can do, right? It really brings it around to like, okay, well, if there's no gear coming out in a year, I'm just not going to do reviews on gear because it's not podcast gear or it's not music gear or it's not this or it's not that. So, and Dylan and I talked about choosing my lane and staying in my freaking lane. And Dylan gave some feedback that I'm actually implementing, which I'm not going to get into here because it'll start a conversation I don't want to have. Yeah. SR375, why not a 30-minute podcast? That's not a bad point. I would probably do a 1-hour one. I'd probably hit an hour. 100 ways to record farts. You know what would be an interesting podcast?
What?
Foley.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. The different sounds and the different ways that you get the different sounds. Oh my God. Just this past week, I actually had to do a couple soundscapey spots. And it occurred to me, I'm like, man, that's the door that I want. That's the length of the door. Like I was looking for like automatic sliding door sounds for a specific, and I'm like, I know exactly what I need this to sound like. I'm like, that's the door that I want. It's moving at the speed that I want, but it's not the right distance from the mic.
I got an idea, dude. What if we redid some old public Twilight Zone stuff?
You talk about like silent films, like doing sounds for
stuff for like the old radio shows that are now in the public domain.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like NPR
doing them, but we make our own Foley. So everything would be raw.
Yeah.
That would take forever though, right?
You know what? One fun exercise I had to do was I remember in college, like years and years ago now, not radio college, obviously. We had to take a movie trailer and build it back up from scratch. The music from scratch, the sound effects, and the voiceovers. Wow. And in my case, I had to do an Avengers trailer.
Oh God. Oh God.
But it was fun. It was like, okay, there's a spaceship shooting 4 bolts. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now what is that going to sound like? Because then there's another ship that flies by with a different color, 5 or 6 bolts, right? And so you really have to like sound design. I love sound design. I'm not amazing at sound design, but it's a really fun exercise. I
But
really,
that's
you know,
but passion doesn't necessarily mean expertise.
yeah,
And so, like, one of the things we were talking about earlier is like reaction stuff. Like, you can do reaction podcast really easily, and that's, the way a lot of people go. And the reason is because of expertise, right? And but when it comes to podcasts, as long as you're not putting yourself out there as an expert, you can put yourself out there as just a passionate observer of, and I feel like that is very, very fair. Podcast of fixing shit recordings. Dylan would go cross-eyed because it would basically be me hosting and Dylan fixing everything. I'd be like, I'll help. Dylan's like, go away. Yeah, that's
oh my
basically the
God.
podcast in a nutshell. You're not helping, Aiden.
Oh,
God damn
fixing
it.
audio. It's so sad that for most people, like, it's funny. I saw a Facebook, this is kind of off topic, but I saw a Facebook post recently from a friend of mine who owns a professional, like, broadcast production truck. One of those big, like, trucks that you run, like a 48 channel board in, and it's Atmos enabled and all that. And he was talking about Atmos, and he was talking about what a big fan he is of mixing in Atmos, and how, there's two ways mixing engineers can answer that. Can you do an Atmos mix? And the answer is yes, absolutely, I can help you with your project, or no, I can't help you with your, I can't mix in Atmos. And it was just like, it's a superior format, it's this, it's that. But I'm like, man, most of my job these days is fixing shit audio that
Right.
comes out of an
Well, and
iPhone.
that's the other thing. It might
Like,
be a passion, but you do it all fucking day.
like I would love to spend $20,000 or $30,000 outfitting this room for Atmos mixing,
Yeah.
but that's such a niche thing, and the return that I'm gonna get on that investment, because I don't play in those circles that actively anyway. No. So yeah, most of the job now is fixing crap audio that either comes from like a streaming service or like on a
Yeah.
phone.
Hmm.
And that seems to be a lot of the, first client recordings.
Joey Smoey says the Foley would be. See, you know what I think each episode would be is us trying to go out and get the best specific Foley. So this week we're trying to get, how did we make this? And we come up with an idea for something, and then we go out and we reverse engineer the sound from other things other than. And then we present how we did it. I think that would be kind of fun. Action Popcast, god damn it. Explore how sound design, music, and audio tech shape our experience of movies, TV shows, video games, and viral content. Each episode breaks down how sound builds atmosphere, emotion, and character. That's a good one.
I thought of one idea just in this vein of like Foley and stuff like that is where like a video, or each episode we go and through the millions of pieces of content, and we find a sound effect or some sound that is kind of signature to that movie or that whatever, or even a song like Phil Collins, the drum fill, the infamous drum fill.
Yeah.
How do you get that sound? Because that sound makes that song. Nobody remembers anything else about that song other than that fill sometimes. Or even going back through old movies. Like, one thing that I've always really, in terms of video games, talking about video games, is the explosion sounds in GTA 5 are awesome. Yes. They're big, they're fucking meaty, they're compressed as shit, they're big and they're fat, and they're very satisfying to hear. And so it's like, let's grab some layers and let's try to make those sounds. And how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, and a lot of this was very visual, and that's the only problem I would have with that is sitting back and having esoteric conversations about some of this stuff but when you're starting to do example stuff, that's the only problem that I find with that. That would make a great YouTube channel though.
Well, I was going to say some of it, I mean, fair dealing includes educational use.
It does, but that doesn't mean people can't come after you to make you prove it. Because this is something people don't understand about fair use. Fair use isn't a law that is just implemented. Fair use is your argument you're going to use in court. And so
it is a standard that has been upheld by the legal system as to, a justifiable defense for plagiarism.
But it's only enactable in court. So fair use isn't something that you get to just stand in the middle of the street and go, fair use, I used the Superman theme for this because
No,
I
yeah,
wanted
it's
to.
not like a
It's
criminal statute or anything.
so we were sitting down, I was with a podcaster. We were talking about using clips in podcasts, and he wanted to hear it from the man himself. So we called a high-powered entertainment lawyer and paid him a large amount of money to sit down and talk to us about using this stuff and how you can do it. And he said, well, you do it until you can't get away with it anymore. And he says, as long as you fulfill fair use, he said, you're going to be fine. He said, however, you will be sued at some point. Guaranteed. You will be sued. At some point, someone's going to go, fuck you, and I'm taking him to court. And then they're going to try to make you pay them for that. So what the fair use does, and this is the best way he said, what fair use is at this point becomes your argument when you get into court. A judge is going to determine whether or not you had fair use to use that product. And it doesn't matter how fair use it is. You could literally be like perfectly within the confines of fair use. But if somebody decides to sue you, you're going to court. And that's the problem I have using content is if you're not ready to go to court, you shouldn't be fucking with fair use whatsoever. Now, that's a coward's way of looking at it. I understand that.
Well, I'm going to say, like, legal processes are extremely cost prohibitive. And yes, there are organizations and entities that don't really care. But let me tell you, having a conversation with an accountant why you decided to spend $50,000 pursuing, a goose tail, that's not a fun conversation to have.
No.
And so there's a bit of a deterrence component there.
There is, but there's also people that will do it just to see the look on your face. And the Eagles are a good example of that. You try to cover an Eagles song and they will send you cease and desist. And if you don't, they're coming after you. And
a lot of the old guard, especially the guards that saw obviously like recorded music is like the essence of the business. Now that's not the case anymore. Now, like for modern artists, like the TikTok, music is a component of the brand, and that's basically it.
But there's more, and it's not just music though. It also it's
any kind of copyrightable audio content.
And so I don't have a problem with it. The problem I have is like I don't feel like getting a lawyer. Entertainment lawyers are expensive.
Yeah, they can be expensive.
I do love Liberty Dude here. Podcasts should be about microphones used in religious services that always have political programming. I have a feeling you have a church in mind. I'm listening. So, Foley's great. This Steve, especially for the old time stuff. But how many times do you hear horse footsteps? Yeah, you know what I mean. That is part of the. A lot of Foley comes down to that. But when you look, holy shit, we're way behind in comments. When you look at how much Foley's required in an audio production, like I always wanted to go back and redo like War of the Worlds. That was actually in school when we were in broadcasting school. Dylan and I were there at the same time. One of the things that I pitched was for us to redo at least one scene of War of the Worlds, if not the whole thing. Because when you look at it from pulling, like if you're not doing your own Foley and you're grabbing stuff out of libraries, it would be very easy to redo. You just need the performance, which is not easy. But I think that kind of stuff would be a lot of fun.
I think it's tricky, right? And I do this kind of soundscaping, building stuff up. For a film, it's even harder because, and I don't know, some people would argue audiences don't even notice. What people don't know, number one, about movies is the only thing that is usually recorded on location is dialogue. And even then, a lot of that is replaced in ADR after the fact.
Yep.
So none of the sounds when you're watching your favorite TV shows, movies, whatnot, none of the sounds, for the most part, are recorded actually there on location.
Because they can't control it.
They can't control it. And if the sound didn't happen just right, they're not going to be like, okay, restart that scene 80 times so that we can get you closing that door just right.
One engine's a little too loud on the passing cars.
And like working with libraries also can sometimes be more trouble than it's worth trying to
Yeah.
find.
They're
Because
stale.
again, you've got so many variables to control. Like what kind of
Yeah.
shoes was she walking in? How fast was she walking in them?
Yeah.
What was she walking on? What room was it outside? Were there trees around? Like so many variables that the odds of you finding exactly the right sound for your shot,
it's also sterile as fuck. Let's put it that way. Douglas Film, I love this. Foley sound effects. There must be tens of people interested in such a podcast. I would want to do
That's the problem.
Well, no, like if I were to do a podcast about Foley, it would be recreating like some of those radio novellas that would be awesome. I would love that. I would love to do some old radio novellas of like I used to listen to them when I was a truck driver all the time because I'd be on a long drive and you just put them on and they were awesome. But anyways, let's get down this this list. Audio snob criticism from home to pro. I do love that. There's a bit of sci-fi sounds history from Doctor Who in the 1960s onward that is fancity. I don't know what that is. Fair use pretty much doesn't exist in the UK, I believe. I'm probably wrong, but I'm 5 San Miguel's in, so blah.
I think in the States it's called fair use, and here in Canada I think we have it called fair dealing.
Yeah, there's every country. Before you say that, every country does actually have laws pertaining.
Yeah, they have some. It falls under like the copyright and trademarks.
Yeah, but they're all guidelines.
Yeah. Well, and they're defenses. They're defenses that there exists like a legal precedent in court where judges have ruled that this is reasonable.
Yes.
But as we've seen with a lot of things, especially in the States recently, is just because somebody once at some point decided that was reasonable, does not mean it's reasonable anymore.
Yeah, like Disney will take you to court. It doesn't matter how airtight they will literally throw lawyers at you. They don't care.
Well, because they have the money to spend. So, $50 grand or $500 grand to them is a drop in the bucket.
Nintendo the same. Also using audio to drive an emotional narrative, the unseen tactic. Yeah, you know what? And that's what I love about like those old radio novellas, updating them in more of a contemporary way. The acting would be dog shit because who the fuck do you get to act in those things, right? You'd have one guy doing 4 different voices because you can't hire actors because you're not making any money. So,
no, yeah.
You can have a competition podcast, show and describe a picture, clip, event with a what would that sound like, then independently try to create the sound. You know, you ever see those videos of the guy that matches the paint color exactly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you just see him, somebody shows him a color and he starts mixing by hand everything, and then he comes in and it's perfect. That kind of reminds me of what that would be like, only with, sound.
With sound, yeah.
Agree on being sued on fair use for many uses. Yeah, look at CoffeeZilla. There's always so many of examples out there. My first podcast, a lot of people don't know this. I had a podcast called The Dark Corner of Radio, whereas Dark Corner Studios comes from that. And The Dark Corner of Radio was about kind of the underbelly, seedy nature of media and the stories that came from it. For example, I did stuff like the history of Diabolus and Musica, the history of the tritone. I did Charles Manson's story, how his musical career almost kicked off. I did a lot of stuff, Sound as a Weapon, all this stuff. But what I did was I did it on the radio because I was on the radio, and I would play songs in between, but I would use the stories to set up the songs. So what I started doing was, for the podcast version, I would literally only play the first like 3 seconds and then fade it out and fade it back in. And I got a couple cease and desists from that. So like, it doesn't take long. And I had a good amount. I think I was getting like 1,000 listeners a week, which is like paltry in the long term. I was monetizable, but I wasn't monetized. And this was back in 2017. 1,000 listens a week per episode is pretty damn good. So anyways, yeah. Sound of Sound. Oh, I do like that. That's a Liberty Dude. I really like that.
Sound of Sound.
Air sample your audience, submit. Yeah. Ironically, good name to me. Drunk Fall of Foley Replacement Podcast. Leslie Nielsen. Love it. Fast foley. Give each other 1 minute silent movie clip and 10 minutes to foley it. Fast foley. Keep wanting to say foley. To get the vampire skull sliding down the car bonds on a Blade 3 to scrape coconut shells down sheets of metal. There's my boring fact. Yeah, you know what? Some of them got pretty lazy. I'm not going to lie. Some of them got a little lazy. Show idea, odd eBay, where you buy some stuff, good, bad, odd on eBay, and then y'all test it out. I actually want to do that for our YouTube channel. I'm coming up with a concept for that. Dylan and I get like $500 each or something, and we go and we try to build something from eBay, whether it be like a podcast setup or that would be interesting, wouldn't it? What would we do? Like $200 each, and you try to build a podcast setup with $200?
$200, Jesus.
It's off eBay, so there's a lot of use.
I when I have to make financial compromises on things.
No, I'll be giving you the money to do it. Don't worry.
No, but I mean, like, having to limit yourself to a budget, right?
Well, that's what people have to do, though, Dylan.
I know, that's normal. But like a ridiculous budget, like $200.
You're just starting a podcast.
And it's hard. I get it. It's doable. I just wouldn't enjoy it.
Well, but you do it for the YouTube channel, man. If you ever need someone to voice,
I would not be passionate about it.
If you ever need somebody to where Kermit the X Factor announcer, Tony Hadley, or Venom on a recording, I'm your guy. That's fascinating. So I used to do fake commercials or fake like promos. And like I did some pretty.
Minnie's got a point.
What's that? Minnie
on cam.
Live from Canada. Been watching your videos about microphones. Been looking at an upgrade for my channel. Nice. Oh, where'd my video go?
Oh, is it just me again? Oh, it is. No, you're there. It looks like you're there.
No, it's coming.
I'm way far back.
My video just popped out.
Oh yeah, you're a big black box. Look at you.
I'm a big black box. You can still hear me though. My camera's probably overheating.
I can hear you anyway. I don't know if they can hear you. Can anybody hear Aiden?
Oh yeah, my audio stream is completely different from my. 1 second.
1 second. But no, it's true. Like, trying to scrounge together $1,000 as an emergency budget for most people is a tricky thing, let alone trying to scrounge together $1,000 for something like audio that's totally optional. You can build a rig with $200. You're gonna have to make a lot of compromises, though. That's the tricky thing. You're gonna have to use a lot of things that aren't very good at what they do, and that will lead to lots of frustrating situations.
My camera died.
Oh, nice. There we go. All right.
There we go. No, I'm back. Don't worry.
You're back? All right. You're still a black box here. But
FaceTime camera for the win, yo. It's just a little bit of a different angle.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking down. My camera, I guess, just like decided.
There you go. Nice.
Crying out loud. I'm going straight over the Mac. That's basically what I'm doing. Audio and video. If you ever need, so I used to do a lot of like fake commercials way back in the day, and I would.
We all did. That was kind of college, was it not? Oh no, but you for your show.
Yeah, I did them for my radio show. I did in college. I did the nasty ones, the ones that will never see the light of day. But I used to get like a buddy of mine. He could do a great Elmo, and I used to put Elmo in some really unfortunate situations, and it was fantastic. No. But like I was planning this was back when I was planning a podcast called 7 Dirty Words, which was basically a morning show style podcast, but it had fake commercials of sponsors. So sponsored by Shit Ticks, which was a toilet paper company, or sponsored by Dick Pics Custom Framing, which was like I had a lot of like. So this is the morning show persona that comes out when I'm like, let's come up with some snappy, funny stuff. It's very much influenced by back in the day, like the early 2000s, there used to be some radio fake commercials that was like, does your toilet paper pass the white glove test? And they used to go out into the street And there'd be like passerbys, and they're like, "Excuse me, sir, does your toilet paper pass the white glove test?" I don't know. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, it doesn't pass the white glove test. It used to be like a yeah. Anyways, that's the kind of the theme that I used to go by when I was on the radio. And anyways, I used to get a lot of voices for it. That's what I was saying. Live from Canada, Minnie. Good to meet you. What kind
Live
of an
from
upgrade
Canada.
you're looking
Us
for your
too.
channel? Sorry, I got way thrown off there when my camera turned off. We're in Canada as well, Minnie.
We indeed are.
We're in the Ottawa area. You don't have to out
Greater
yourself,
Ottawa
but
area.
the kids who want to be YouTuber need to know how to do it on their part-time jobs. 100%.
Yeah, that's true. And again, like I was just saying, how like an emergency budget is hard enough to get at like $1,000, let alone some, $1,000 for something that's totally optional, like audio gear. That you absolutely, when everybody's living paycheck to paycheck, as many Canadians are right now, us included. But yeah, so in that sense, $200 is not an unacceptable budget. It's just you're gonna have to make lots of compromises. And you're probably gonna end up buying some things that are not amazing at what they do. And that's the trouble you run into. And that stuff is gonna cause you frustration. It's gonna shut you down sometimes. I mean, you can probably afford it because if you're spending $200 on a thing, it's assumed that you're probably not making a lot of money doing it. And so hopefully nothing super critical gets interrupted. But
Yeah, Action Podcast. I started on a phone and earphones with Mike. Before I knew it, $1,000 laptop, 100
if
quid
you've
mic.
got a good content idea, honestly, you don't need much.
No, and you know what? You can do a lot with a cell phone nowadays, man.
Yeah.
The wireless Me from Rode and a cell phone, you're set. Like that's a great option for. Yeah, like there's no reason you need to do anything else with it. I've been using a USB Logitech headset for years, but I've been invited on more podcasts. I don't always want to look like a call center agent on them. Mini. Yeah, the headsets are notorious for having rough audio.
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends on how micy you want to go. Like if you want to look like you've got a mic in front of you all the time, there's a ton of options, but I love lav stuff, and you can get decent audio with it, and you can record onto your phone or whatever your setup is. GTA,
Oh God, yeah.
Minis from the GTA, man.
What?
Minis from Toronto or GTA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But no, the lav thing, I think I bought a lav to use for like social media content through my phone. And it was like 25 or $30, basic little, 3.5 mil lav. And it worked great. It sounded like a lav. Obviously it's going in the same place that lavalier mics go. It's maybe not the best in the world, but
it would sound a hell of a lot better than a USB Logitech.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that, as a good, starting out in audio thing, a lot of us are already leveraging like $2,000 of our budget for one of these little computers in our pocket. You might as well use it.
Yeah.
And so getting things like interfaces, I know there are a number of Thunderbolt to USB-C cables you can use with certain interfaces. I think even the Scarlett will interface with like an iOS device. So that could be an idea. Certain USB mics even. There's lots of ways to save money and also trying to minimize again how much you're compromising on your audio.
Yeah. Bang says Behringer, UMC 202, 204, 404 HD on sale, 70, 80, or 110. Thanks, Banks. Thanks for the super chat too, brother. Appreciate that. Outsider Jess, no more audio gear for me. Now it's time for my PC. Ooh, that's the most fun. I love spending money on PC.
I don't.
Mini on cam, about 5-6 hours away from Ottawa. It's the same province, different city. Yeah. I was in Scarborough all summer with my kid doing synchronized swimming. I love Toronto. I hate Toronto at the same time. Driving in it disgusts me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Toronto.
Although you know what? I mean, out of Canadian cities, Ottawa isn't my top either.
No, honestly, I'm only here because there's people that I know and like here. If I won the lottery and could get everybody I know and like to move away from here, I would never come back, honestly.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the problem. It's the people that are here.
Yep.
Without using Behringer gear, Radio Shack preferred. Radio Shack only. That would be a challenge. Outsider Jess, for $200, can you get the PodMic USB? Or get the PodMic USB? That's not a bad idea. There's your one-stop shop. The Radio
We should
Shack
have a bit that we do where it's just like, how much will it take? Can you get Dylan to cringe and just do something absolutely horrible to a microphone? And just see if you can get me to visibly react to it. I feel like that would be a shitty challenge for me because most things that you would come up with would probably make me cringe.
I think trying to take really bad audio and turn it into good sounding audio would be more fun.
Yeah. Like, hey, this audio came from, a Samsung Galaxy S3.
Right?
Like, here's what it sounds like. Let's see if we can make this into something that's sort of digital ready.
PodMic USB Mini on cam is worth it 100%. That's my main mic. I keep it on my desk. It's actually showed up in a couple videos over the past, the new video coming up on Monday where I'm worried I might get sued. I don't know. But yeah, the video coming up on Monday, it shows up. Like, it's my go-to mic at my desk. So it's the one I use for basically everything when I'm not working. I actually think we're almost at the point where we gotta be done here. It's been about an hour. DIY echo chamber mechanical filter. Not a bad idea. Put bad audio into an AI editor. Oh.
Yeah, that's basically these days, most of the fixes involve that.
Yeah, basically. I know.
Sometimes it does more harm than good. I will say that AI repair tools are not one size fits all solutions to every problem.
Although I am getting more used to using Descript and stuff like that. So, it's not that bad.
Yeah, Descript is good. We use it a fair amount on our side.
Oh, all right. I love y'all. Appreciate you guys coming out. And I appreciate you guys hanging through all the bullshit of getting this stream started.
40 minutes.
Yeah, it's been a day. I'm gonna make sure because obviously YouTube's not having a hard time streaming. I'm gonna go into the back end of StreamYards, make sure it's got all my information and everything's fine. It might need to be updated. It's like sometimes you have to update to make sure that I'm still willing to give all my information over to StreamYards. So I'll make sure that's not a problem. Anyways,
I'm trying to picture a red pod mic.
Is there a red pod mic?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. She got a pod mic in the color red from B&H, and I'm going, that would be interesting. I would buy that.
Oh, not the PodMic USB, but just the PodMic. Yeah, I believe they came out with some limited edition PodMic colors. If I recall.
I think the outsider Jess is saying it is the 50th edition, or maybe 50th anniversary of.
Well, it hasn't been out 50 years for a PodMic.
50th edition of the PodMic.
Fifth, I could see it'd be the fifth edition. If it's been through 50 editions, that'd be interesting. Anyways,
I was gonna say, if it's been through 50 editions, I expect more.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys coming out for the live stream and putting up with all the bullshit. And we will see you next week, probably with a little bit more high tech going on here instead of just webcams. Have a good week, guys.